We'll rebuild him. We'll make him stronger than before. The sharpest blades, like that of shark teeth. A strong tentacle for crushing his enemies. Deadly blue spikes. The head of the strongest crab. What do manta rays have? Forget it. Give him spikes. Spikes are cool. Oh, and glowy blue stuff. That's awesome. And his name shall be Trilocotoxapork attacks! Okay, I quit. Hello everyone and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're looking over set number 8935, Nocturn. The set contains approximately 116 pieces, was released in early winter of 2007 as a Walmart exclusive, and the time of release was approximately $15. Well everyone, we're starting off with our first Titan, and boy what a Titan he is. To be honest though, actually, I think this was my first 2007 Titan, and one of my only for the longest time. But if you're gonna get, I'll say this right now, if you're gonna get any of the 07 Titans, make sure Nocturn is in consideration. He's in the pool of options. Because Nocturn, he looks pretty cool. Is he supposed to be anything? I don't know, one could make the argument he has so many limbs. He could be an octopus, very bright blue and green one. I digress. As I mentioned prior, Nocturn was released as a Walmart exclusive, so you weren't going to find him in many other places unless you were going to Walmart. Be it that the case though, he's a pretty cool exclusive. And we're going to jump right into the pros and cons, but first let me preface this by saying any of the opinions you hear are not necessarily mine. Any pro or con, just because it is here, doesn't necessarily means it represents my personal tastes. I bring it up for a couple of reasons. Either A, these are opinions that I've heard other people mention over the years of owning this set. Or B, these are personal, hands-on observations, and may not necessarily be what I personally do believe or not. So, with that out of the way, I will explicitly tell you if I do personally disagree or agree with any given pro or con. So with that out of the way, let's get into the pros and the cons, starting off with the pros. Right off the bat, this set looks fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. The color scheme is very vibrant. We have lime green, the new translucent glow-in-the-dark blue from Tacadox and Hydruka. We have some black for accents, silver for the weapons, some dark blue on his lower jaw, and transparent blue. And it looks fantastic. Very bioluminescent, very exotic. Another pro would be his build. While his build is not necessarily out of this world amazing complex, it's very solid. He doesn't have a lot of loose parts and, some gaps of course, but it's simple, it's complex in a very simple kind of way. And it's also very unique considering he has 4 arms. Another pro would be his weapons. Now, the Liwa Katana are nothing new to us, granted. However, we do get that tentacle piece from Kama that we've seen earlier in silver. So that's a recolor and that's really nice. Speaking of which, recolors, that's another pro. Where do I even begin? We have Ilex spikes in blue. We have Karapar's headpiece in blue. And, was it Karapar? Yeah. We have these feet in lime. The Anika legs in lime, Toametru legs in lime, the pelvic piece in lime. We've got a lot of really great recolors here, and that's fantastic for mockers. We also have a lot of new pieces that are showing up. New pieces to the line for the year. Not new exclusive Nocturn. Nocturn has no exclusive pieces per se. Recolors? Maybe. As the years went on, those kind of decreased too in exclusivity. Is that a word? I hope it is. Moving on, Articulation, which he has a very a nice amount. I was about to say standard, but I can't say standard because he has an extra 2 arms. So he's got 1 in the head, 3 in the legs, which is standard, 3 in the arms, which is also standard, but another 3 in his upper arms, and that's really cool. Now the pro, some may consider, I say this with the greatest amount of caution would be his launcher. Now this is a squid launcher. He does come with 2 squid. Now a little bit of a fun fact, the instruction booklet never explicitly tells you where to put the squid. You can't exactly look where to put these. However, every other piece of promotional artwork regarding Nocturn advise you to put these little squid clips on the side of his legs as shown here. So you won't find this in the instructions, but everywhere else it will be seen. Nocturn, as with most other squid launcher wielders, comes with 2 squid, little plastic buddies that like to sing. Here we have the Squid Launcher, bane of many's existence. Some may actually consider it a good thing it's here. In order to use it, take your index finger, you put it through the little loop here, kind of like a trigger. Then take the squid, put him in with his eyes lengthwise, you pull back, and off he goes. Results may vary. And you can put the squid back. So yeah. Honestly, that about sums up all the general pros and cons. Nocturn is an exotic set. He looks really cool. He poses very nicely. Those glow-in-the-dark parts. I forgot about the glow-in-the-dark parts. Here, let's take a look. Look at that. That is spectacular. It's kind of a bit blurry. Come on. It probably isn't going to focus too well, but that looks spectacular. All the additional glow-in-the-dark pieces, his headpiece, these spike pieces on his shoulders, they look fantastic. Obviously, there's a little bit of light showing through on the sides here, but you should be able to see the gist of it. The head, that really sticks out to me. That looks fantastic. Nocturn isn't specifically supposed to represent any given one underwater creature per se, but that's fine, because this looks beautiful. Really like how that looks. Let's get back to the light. So there we go. That's Nocturn in the dark. Overall, Nocturn is very interesting. He is a really great looking set. The build isn't super complex, but it doesn't need to be to get the job that it needs to do done. And that's wonderful. At the time he was released, he was only $15, which is spectacular. However, with the pros out of the way, let's jump into the cons. What makes this set a little less worth going back to get? Right off the bat, his jaw. Unfortunately, his color scheme isn't as consistent as one would hope, as he does have a very unusual dark blue piece. Many will make the argument that it does still work, considering he does have blue on his color scheme, and the black also hypothetically could contrast as well. So, mileage may vary. Another con would be the simplicity of his limbs, specifically his arms. They don't necessarily, considering they're basically the Anika system, they don't really have a lot of build value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces at most, which, considering their size, isn't a whole lot. It's not a mind-blowing complexity. Another con would be his gaps, specifically right here, due to the way his torso is built, as well as his legs, right here, and right there. Now, a lot of people may not like these pistons, as they're kind of, I'd like to say, useless, and I really like Nocturn to use them as example. Now, Nocturn and Axon specifically, because you see, they're meant to hold the set up, but the set's legs are so heavy that they can easily flop around. They do not stand up very well. I mean, he can stand, don't get me wrong. However, they don't really work as well as a 2015 friction piece would. So many could consider that to be a con. Another con would be his knees, actually, because the armor piece is so low down here that he can't fully extend his leg outright. So he can't stand perfectly straight. Granted, he has a hunchback, so he couldn't stand perfectly straight before. Another con would be his weaponry. Considering Nocturn has a very organic look to him, very reminiscent of very early sets, the silver to many may be a bit jarring, specifically in his jaw, his swords, his launcher, and very unusually, his supposedly organic tentacle. Now, on Kalma, it was bright orange, and many could make the argument, well, orange has a very squid color. However, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen a whole lot of silver squids running around. But hey, Maybe that's just because I live under a rock or some, reclusive joke or whatnot, but I don't know. Many may see that as kind of out of place. Another con would be his head movement, which is very limited upward. Downward is fine, and side to side works alright. However, it's only really here that it works. Another con would be these things. Now, these will warp, as well as the tentacle actually. Tentacle will warp, so if you keep it on its side like that, it's going to start drooping a bit. And these will stay in that shape for a very, very, very long time. However, I have heard that a fix very possibly could be just to hold it under some warm, hot water. Now, very similar to the Barraki spines back in 2006. If that's the case, great. I honestly don't know. I haven't tried it myself. Another con, some people may not like his look. They may not be a total fan of his four-armed look because it's repetitive, and nobody likes repetitive building. However, they're limbs, so the limbs are kind of like that. Really, though? That effectively sums it up. I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, Eljay, why didn't you mention blue pins? And the blue does stick out a smidge, but he's primarily blue. So it does kind of coincide, which is very nice to see. Oh, before I forget, one final con would be the Squid Launcher. See, as it stands, a Squid Launcher is one of the most hated launchers of Bionicle. It's very difficult to use. It's made out of some weird rubbery plastic, very prone to breaking, as well as the rubbery squids. And as I mentioned prior, it's not easy to use at all. You got to get the right velocity, the right pullback, the right everything, and that is even if the little squid there doesn't break. So it is very, very difficult to use a Squid Launcher, and it is definitely a con. However, that pretty much sums it up. That has been my review of Nocturn. What do you guys think? Do you like Nocturn? Is he your favorite 07 Titan? Let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. Join me next week when I kick off the Toamari with Kongu. Thank you all very much for watching, and if there's anything I messed up on, or you feel I should have mentioned, let me know in the two aforementioned places. See you all next week.